Hey there everybody, Manly Starman here. Welcome to part 13 of my Hunger Games series. Can't believe we're already over halfway done. It really doesn't feel like it's been that long for me already, but I guess it has. In this part, Legendary Pokemon versus the Mythical Pokemon, which, I'm gonna be honest guys, as much as I love Pokemon, I do not care about the distinction between Legendary and Mythicals. They're all the same to me. I don't care if there's technically a difference, they're just all legendaries to me at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What I did to make the pairs this time is I went through each generation and chose at least one pair of one mythical and one legendary Pokemon from each. Some generations only had one pair to work with obviously Gen 1 there's only Mew, and who better to pair with than Mewtwo. But as you can also see, some like Gen 3 and 4 had multiples to work with, so I threw them in there to get a good number of contestants this time. Now, as I alluded to in a past part, I honestly don't remember which at this point, I came up with the idea for this series like a couple months ago, like a while ago. And when I first came up with this, Gen 9 did exist. However, there was no news on any DLC, we didn't know if anything was going to be added, and at that time there were no Mythicals. And actually, even to this point, there's still no Mythicals for Gen 9, at least none listed on Bulbapedia when I just looked. So, to have Gen 9 still be represented in this video, I decided to just throw in Ogerpon from the recently released DLC, and Terrapagos, not sure if that's how you pronounce it, because its DLC isn't out yet. They're both technically legendary, so it's not a full one-to-one on the mythical versus legendary side of things, but I'd rather that than just not have Gen 9 represented and have to potentially wait and hope that a mythical is revealed before the end of this series, so that's why those two are here. Also, really quick, because I was looking at this when I was grabbing these images, the gender ratio for these legendaries and mythicals is complete bollocks. Obviously, the majority of them are just, they don't have a gender ratio, so like they're just non-binary. But some of these just make no sense to me, and let me show you what I mean. Heatran, for being a legendary, is for some reason still given the normal 50-50, it can be male or female, which, like, okay, I guess. But then also, we'll go over here, we have the pair of Darkrai and Cresselia. Cresselia is always 100% female, yet Darkrai is just non-binary, and that struck me as weird when I saw that, like, really? I would have thought Darkrai would have been male then, to be the counterpart to Cresselia, kind of like what Latios and Latias have going on. But then you also look at Gen 5 down here, and like Landorus, a kind of masculine looking form and figure, is always male, so like, what are the rules with this? Because then in Gen 6, we have Diancie, who has some pretty feminine features, but it's non-binary, so like, what are the rules that decide what legendaries or mythicals are non-binary or have a gender ratio? It makes zero sense to me. Anyway, mini rant out of the way, let us proceed to the bloodbath. Oh, and if I had to pick my personal winners for this round, probably Arceus. Kinda hard to bet against God. But I'd also throw in a vote for the recently released Ogerpon. I just love how cute she is. But anyway, as the tributes stand on their podiums, the horn sounds. Arceus finds a bag full of explosives. Can Arceus learn explosion and self-destruct? I don't think so, but that'd be interesting if God could blow up. Heatran runs. Celebi runs. Not through time, thankfully. Not here, it can't. Eternatus runs. Terrapagos runs. Marshadow gathers as much food as they can. Darkrai breaks Jirachi's nose for a basket of bread, the nose it does not have. Manaphy runs. Latias runs. Zygarde runs. Sarud rips a mace out of Latios' hands. Deoxys snatches a bottle of alcohol and a rag. Necrozma runs. Victini runs. Cresselia grabs a sword. Mew grabs a shield. Suicune runs. Landorus snatches a bottle of alcohol and a rag. Diancie clutches a first aid kit and runs. Mewtwo finds a bag full of explosives. Ogerpon runs. And Regigigas runs, ironic giving its slow start ability. Day 1. Mew discovers a cave that I'm sure all the legendaries wish they can find so they can loiter in, because they love them caves for some reason. Diancie tries to sleep through the entire day. Ogerpon receives clean water. Zygarde goes hunting. Latios sends to Suicune's wounds. Jirachi and Darkrai work together for the day. Didn't Darkrai just previously punch Jirachi in the non-existent nose, or was that someone else? I honestly forgot already. Zarude hunts for other tributes. Heatran defeats Landorus in a fight, but spares his life. Arceus attacks Necrozma, but they manage to escape. Terrapagos begs for Celebi to kill them. They refuse, keeping Terrapagos alive. Regigigas receives clean water. Marshadow overpowers Latios, killing her. Ah, first blood. Manaphy picks flowers. Victini discovers a cave to loiter in. Deoxys attacks Cresselia, but she manages to escape. Mewtwo searches for firewood. And Eternatus attempts to climb a tree, but falls to their death. What a way for Eternatus to go out. 2 cannon shots. Night 1. Suicune receives a hatchet. Landorus catches Mewtwo off guard and kills them. Oh wow, Mewtwo went out really early. That's surprising. It's definitely one of the strongest Pokemon here. Manaphy and Cresselia tell stories about themselves to each other. Darkrai and Regigigas hold hands. Celebi cooks their food before putting their fire out. Necrozma tries to sing themselves to sleep. Diancie, Jirachi, and Heatran cheerfully sing songs together. Terrapagos and Arceus sleep in shifts. Zygarde and Mew tell stories about themselves to each other. Zarude accidentally detonates a landmine while trying to arm it. Good job, Monkey Brain. Marshadow and Deoxys huddle for warmth. And Victini, Ogerpon, and Latios sleep in shifts. Day 2. Latios receives an explosive. Diancie strangles Zygarde after engaging in a fistfight. The fist that Zygarde doesn't have, which is probably why it lost. Sadly, it wasn't in its 100% complete form where it could have thrown a punch, but that's how it happens, Worm Boy. Arceus receives an explosive. Celebi, Manaphy, and Necrozma hunt for the tributes. Marshadow runs from Landorus. Deoxys questions their sanity. Victini scares Heatran off. Terrapagos and Jirachi work together for the day. Cresselia fishes. Regigigas sees smoke rising in the distance, but decides not to investigate. Mew receives a hatchet. Suicune discovers a cave to loiter in. Darkrai thinks about home. And Ogerpon hunts for other tributes. It's so fitting how many legendaries are discovering caves this time. It's like the game knows. Night 2. Landorus, Regigigas, Cresselia, and Marshadow tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Perfect for an actual ghost type to be there. Ogerpon questions her sanity. Mew climbs a tree to rest, even though it can fly. Manaphy fends Celebi, Jirachi, and Deoxys away from their fire. Good job, Manaphy. Terrapagos sees a fire, but stays hidden. Necrozma begs for Heatran to kill them. They refuse, keeping Necrozma alive. Latios climbs a tree to rest. Again, you can fly. You don't need to climb anything, bud. Victini is awoken by nightmares. Diancie receives a hatchet. And Suicune, Darkrai, and Arceus cheerfully sing songs together. Day 3. Terrapagos questions their sanity. Landorus sprains his ankle while running away from Suicune. Maybe it has an ankle in that cloud. Victini begs for Manaphy to kill them. They refuse, keeping Victini alive. Ogerpon and Jirachi fight Diancie and Mew. Diancie and Mew survive. Aw, there goes one of my picks. Heatran searches for firewood. Well, surely any wood would be good for firewood when you have fire powers. Regigigas, Marshadow, Latios, and Darkrai hunt for other tributes. Necrozma searches for firewood. Celebi chases Cresselia. Arceus picks flowers. And Deoxys tries to sleep through the entire day. Probably hidden in its weird little triangle thing. 2 cannon shots. Night 3. Mew sees a fire but stays hidden. Diancie starts a fire. Darkrai, Arceus, Celebi, and Victini tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. Marshadow loses sight of where they are. Regigigas, Cresselia, and Landorus discuss the games and what might happen in the morning. Suicune quietly hums. Terrapagos receives medical supplies. Deoxys lets Heatran into their shelter. Latios tries to sing himself to sleep. Necrozma tries to treat their infection. And Manaphy receives an explosive. Day 4. Darkrai runs away from Terrapagos. I guess it's so cute and pure looking that the nightmare-inducing Pokemon be like, ugh, get me away from that thing. Arceus makes a wooden sphere. Diancie questions their sanity. Mew receives clean water. Victini practices their archery. Cresselia discovers a river. Suicune tries to sleep through the entire day. Latios begs for Regigigas to kill him. He refuses, keeping Latios alive. Marshadow stalks Necrozma. Celebi tends to Deoxys wounds. Landorus explores the arena. And Heatran begs for Manaphy to kill them. They refuse, keeping Heatran alive. No cannon shots there. Night 4. Celebi sees a fire but stays hidden. And Marshadow throws a knife into Necrozma's head. I guess stalking it worked. Heatran and Cresselia huddle for warmth. Manaphy thinks about winning. Latios and Suicune hold hands. Darkrai goes to sleep. Victini tries to sing themselves to sleep. Diancie and Mew hold hands. Landorus receives clean water. Regigigas stays awake all night. Deoxys convinces Terrapagos to snuggle with them. And Arceus receives a hatchet. Day 5. Diancie, Landorus, and Latios hunt for other tributes. Celebi receives an explosive. Victini searches for firewood. Mew, Darkrai, Suicune, Cresselia, and Heatran hunt for other tributes. Deoxys thinks about home, I guess from up in space. Regigigas and Terrapagos hunt for other tributes. Marshadow shoots an arrow into Arceus' head. Well, good job, Marshadow. You took out God. And Manaphy thinks about home. 2 cannon shots. Night 5. Landorus convinces Cresselia to snuggle with him. Deoxys climbs a tree to rest. Heatran forces Terrapagos to kill Suicune or Victini. They decide to kill Victini. I guess the victory Pokemon can't win out every time. Celebi starts the fire. Latios cries himself to sleep. Aw. I imagine he's bummed out that Latios is still gone. Manaphy and Mew sleep in shifts. And Diancie, Regigigas, Darkrai, and Marshadow tell each other ghost stories. Day 6. Latios diverts Cresselia's attention and runs away. Suicune, Manaphy, Regigigas, and Heatran raid Marshadow's camp while they're hunting. Deoxys, Terrapagos, and Landorus hunt for other tributes. Celebi is pricked by thorns while picking berries. Darkrai tries to spearfish with a trident. And Diancie sprains their ankle while running away from Mew. The ankle they most definitely don't have. 1 cannon shot. Night 6. Mew kills Cresselia with a sickle. Deoxys, Marshadow, and Landorus discuss the games and what might happen in the morning. Celebi sees a fire, but stays hidden. Diancie cooks their food before putting their fire out. Manaphy quietly hums. Regigigas is unable to start a fire and sleep without warmth. Terrapagos receives fresh food. Darkrai goes to sleep. Suicune goes to sleep. And Heatran hands Latios' food, killing him. Day 7. Regigigas thinks about home. What, being in the bottom of that temple over in Sinnoh? Sure, bud. Darkrai and Deoxys split up to search for resources. Terrapagos constructs a shack. Heatran tries to spearfish with a trident. Be careful near that water, bud. You are a fire type. Celebi overhears Suicune and Landorus talking in the distance. Marshadow goes hunting. Manaphy tries to spearfish with a trident. Diancie makes a slingshot. And Mew thinks about home. 2 cannon shots. Night 7. Celebi defeats Deoxys in a fight, but spares their life. Mew tends to their wounds. Regigigas screams for help. Suicune and Terrapagos hold hands. Heatran goes to sleep. Darkrai receives medical supplies. Landorus, Marshadow, and Manaphy sleep in shifts. And Diancie looks to the night sky. Day 8. Celebi, Heatran, and Suicune hunt for other tributes. Mew overhears Regigigas and Darkrai talking in the distance. Manaphy scares Marshadow off. Deoxys hunts for other tributes. Diancie hunts for other tributes. Landorus picks flowers. And Terrapagos thinks about home. No cannon shots. Once again, this is a very long-lasting game. There's still plenty of players still in this. Night 8. Landorus and Marshadow tell stories about themselves to each other. Darkrai questions their sanity. Heatran loses sight of where they are. Manaphy attempts to climb a tree, but falls to their death. Mew and Diancie huddle for warmth. Regigigas and Suicune fight Terrapagos and Celebi. Terrapagos and Celebi survive. That's pretty surprising. And Deoxys screams for help. The Feast. The cornucopia is replenished with food, supplies, weapons, and memoirs from the tribute's families. Heatran doesn't go. Mew sets Terrapagos on fire with a Molotov. Currently unknown how effective that is, we don't even know its typing. Deoxys takes a staff. Darkrai doesn't go. Marshadow severely slices Landorus with a sword. Marshadow's got a good number of kills. I wonder if it'll have the most by the end. Celebi doesn't go. And Diancie dies from an infection. Day 9. Darkrai receives fresh food. Heatran makes a wooden spear. I'm surprised it doesn't combust just being near Heatran. Marshadow also makes a wooden spear. Deoxys thinks about home again. Celebi receives a hatchet. And Mew receives medical supplies. 6 cannon shots. Night 9. And how many contestants do we have? 2, 4, 6. Darkrai receives clean water. Marshadow screams for help. Celebi thinks about home. Heatran loses sight of where they are. And Mew tends to Deoxys wounds. Day 10. Darkrai picks flowers. Celebi receives an explosive. Heatran begs for Mew to kill them. They refuse, keeping Heatran alive. Marshadow tries to sleep through the entire day. And Deoxys dies from thirst. 1 cannon shot. Night 10. Heatran goes to sleep. Marshadow lets Celebi into their shelter. Mew receives food. And ironically enough, Darkrai is awoken by nightmares. Maybe the situation is getting to them. Day 11. Marshadow tends to Mew's wounds. Celebi shoots an arrow into Darkrai's head. Maybe that nightmare was some premonition that they would have of the coming day. And Heatran hunts for other tributes. Another single cannon shot. Night 11. Marshadow receives medical supplies. And Heatran, Celebi, and Mew get into a fight. Heatran triumphantly kills them both. Final 2 time. Day 12. Heatran kills Marshadow with a hatchet, making Heatran, after the 3 cannon shots ring out, today's winner. You know, I wouldn't have thought old Planehead would be the one to do it, but here we are. 4 kills, as did Marshadow and Mew. Wow. Even Celebi got 3. Terrapagos got 3 too? Oh my god. Maybe that's a sign of how strong it'll be to come. Diancie also got 3 kills, and yeah, that's about it of note. The only other person to get kills is Landorus with 1. Well, that's the end of this video. Join me back here next part, where I'll be looking at some of the Disney and Looney Tunes characters going against each other. See who has the greatest toon force. See you guys then.